What's up everybody, I'm Matt.
And I'm Beth.
And today we're going to be reviewing the interior in the 2021 Toyota Land Cruiser. So the Land Cruiser here is, been around for over a decade now. It's pretty ancient and hasn't been too many updates to the vehicle here. One of the cool things you have now is the Heritage Edition, which is what this one is, which gives you the cool bronze wheels and the roof rack and a few other little touches, including the retro badges there on the rear quarter panel that I think are really cool. But whenever you move on to the interior here in the Land Cruiser, it is interesting. So you have to keep in mind everything we're about to talk about is because this thing is $90,000 basically. It's $89,645 as tested. And this is what you get. And you also can get an identically priced Lexus LX 570, which has all the same kind of bits underneath, same engine, everything, for the same exact money. You could have a Lexus interior. And so I explore all the reasons why maybe someone would want this Toyota over the Lexus, even though they're the same price. And I will link my driving review above if you want to hear that. But yeah, the interior just doesn't even feel like it's half of $90,000.
Yeah, it has. I'm just noticing this now. It has this wood trim here that I can honestly say feels like plastic.
Yeah, well, it is. It's definitely fake.
Okay, well,
100%.
We're spending 90 grand on this car and we're getting fake plastic wood.
That's something you think people would want.
Wow. Yeah.
And I mean, the fake stuff continues on. Like, you have fake metal trim here. This is just like plastic that's painted to look like it's like stainless steel kind of in this look. And it just, everything in here is just, kind of cheap and 10 years old feeling.
This is a Toyota, guys. And if you're spending 90 grand on a Toyota, I would expect it to be super duper nice. There's so many other Toyotas that we've seen in the past that have been really nice on the inside. And this one just like doesn't match up for some reason. Yeah, I mean, you'd be way better off buying a fully loaded Toyota RAV4 for half the price. Like, that interior is way nicer than this. Right.
So it's just kind of mind-boggling, and we'll explore more of this interior here. But first, sitting down in these seats, the seats are very soft and comfortable. They're heated and ventilated, and that's one of the few areas where I have no complaints. I think the seats are great. Yeah,
they're nice. You can go up and down and back and forth in here. I am sitting at the lowest setting, but I do feel like I have enough headroom. But I still feel like I'm sitting up a little bit high. It's just a preference thing, so maybe it's just me, but yeah.
In this vehicle, it's impossible to escape the high seating position. Even me, with my seat being down a little bit lower. I mean, you're just up so high in this thing. It was kind of funny. We were driving around the other day, and it's like, wow, like we're like way higher than even some of these SUVs on the road. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a big old beast. But anyway, the seats are soft and comfortable. Steering wheel is also pretty good. So you have a good 9-3 grip. No 10-2 notches, but you do have a little bit more of this wood looking trim here on it. And the only problem is, you have a few buttons here on it. There's no problems there, but you have this like cheap plastic that's scratchy and hard that looks like it could be out of a 1995 Camry with this like plastic on the spokes here. And again, $90,000, I don't want to see cheap plastic anywhere near where my fingers touch, and especially not on the steering wheel. I mean, yes, it's leather wrapped, it has some nice contrast stitching, you have the wood, but then why throw in a little bit of cheap plastic here? It's just...
Yeah, put in the cheap wood-looking plastic, at least.
Yeah, something there, instead of just having it be this hard, scratchy plastic. The gauges in the Land Cruiser are pretty good, so obviously they're dated. They're just analog gauges with the little screen in the middle. That's the same screen you've gotten in the past 10 years on any other Toyota product. But if you are an off-roader, you might appreciate some of the auxiliary gauges you get here. So it's pretty rare these days to have a gauge for your voltage and also one for your oil temperature, and this has both of those, and that is pretty hard to come by these days. So that's great, in addition to all your other normal gauges. And then in the middle there, it's just again all your normal stuff. So it'll have your fuel economy, trip info. It will also show you like the angle that your tires are at whenever you're doing maneuvers. It'll also show you your audio and your safety stuff, all that kind of basic stuff, but nothing too exciting there, but nothing too bad either. Coming over to the center of the dashboard here though. So right up top, you do have a 9-inch touchscreen, which was way ahead of its time because like they just added that to like the Camry this year, and this thing's had the 9-inch screen for a while. Unfortunately, it's an ancient screen. It runs very old software. The speed and everything is fine, so it's not a slow system. It just looks like it's 10 years old. Like it is the most dated looking infotainment software I've ever seen. And again, you're spending $90,000, at least flash it to new software. And if you can't handle the new software with the old computer this thing might have, swap in a new one. Again, you need $90,000 for this. I mean, they must have enough of a profit margin to at least put in, you know, the newest infotainment looking tech. You don't even need to cut out the screen or redesign this at all because you have a large enough size. Just put the new stuff in there. It doesn't even have smartphone integration. There's no Apple CarPlay, no Android Auto.
Yeah, so as far as entertainment goes in this car, I just feel like it's like definitely not there.
Yeah, it's old. It's just, you know, it's like, well, this would have been totally fine 10 years ago to have, we got Bluetooth audio streaming, sweet. Like these days that doesn't impress anybody. So, you know, that's really the only downside there. I mean, as far as functionality, it works. Like the maps look ancient, but they work. Going through your radio stations and stuff is easy because you do have a tune knob and a volume knob. All the basic mechanicals are fine. So if you're not someone who cares about appearances and stuff, yes, you can listen to the radio in this car just fine. If that's all you care about, you're going to be happy. But anyone who wants to do the smartphone stuff, yeah, you're going to have to look elsewhere for sure.
Yeah, and I will have to say, smartphone integration these days is so nice, especially when you're running maps on your phone and you don't want to run them through your car's navigation system. I mean, seeing that on your screen from your phone is so much nicer than like, oh, let me like double check my phone that's down in my cup holder, or like having to like put it on your dashboard. Like, I mean, honestly, I think that's something that has really upped the game in a lot of these cars, and I think it's definitely something that every car needs now.
Yeah, because as much as manufacturers try to make their own navigation systems good, even the newest, best stuff, a lot of them still don't have quite as up-to-date traffic info. You know, the maps get outdated very quickly, and this, I mean, it's just running maps off of a little SD card in here. So, I mean, you know, there's no updates for the maps. I mean, streets and all that kind of stuff are going to be old. You're not going to have the traffic information as accurate as you do on the smartphone stuff. So there's just no point in trying. Just do the smartphone integration. And Toyota and Lexus have switched over to smartphone integration in all their other models, really. It's just these big trucks that don't have it. The LX doesn't have it either. But yeah, so that's the only unfortunate thing. Anyway, moving past that, you have a little old-fashioned readout there for your climate and your clock.
And it's very old-fashioned.
Yeah, that is something that if you were sitting in a Toyota from the 90s, that would be identical, which is kind of funny. And then, yeah, just your climate controls there, your volume and tune knob, and that's basically it as far as that. One other thing to mention, though, with this whole infotainment system is that it does have this JBL synthesis stereo. It's a 14-speaker stereo system, and so that's a decent speaker count, and it sounds okay, but again, these days, it's not great. And also, it's worth noting, again, in the Lexus, you get a Mark Levinson, I think it's a 19-speaker stereo, you can get in that. So clearly, I mean, if you care about luxuries, you'll just go for the Lexus no matter what, I think, because it's just way better in every way. But anyway, moving on to storage spaces here in the Land Cruiser. So, it's okay. It's about what you're going to get for most vehicles that are this dated. But it does have, you know, like bottle holders in the doors with a pocket there. And actually, surprisingly, one thing they did update a couple of years ago was that you do have wireless charging. It's in this little drawer, and you can slide your phone in there, but it's not a large space. It can fit my iPhone 11 Pro just narrowly, but if I had the Max version or any other larger smartphone, you would not be able to close this drawer, and I'm not sure how well you'd be able to make contact with that wireless charging pad. But that is one little thing that they kind of tossed a bone to the Land Cruiser here to keep it up to date a little bit. You also do have a normal power outlet in there as well. Beneath that wireless charging pad, you do have a USB jack and an auxiliary jack. So it's nice to have that, but that's all you get is one USB jack. And in most other vehicles these days, you get at least two. Some are even more than that, but at least it's nice you have one, considering how old this vehicle is. And then you have your two cup holders here behind the shifter. And then you have the center armrest, which does have a little bit of padding to it, but it's like hard underneath. It just doesn't feel very soft. And again, $90,000. You have the margin. Like, put a little bit of foam in here or something. I don't know, but
yeah, you're just gonna have to go like very gingerly when you put your elbow down. You can't just really get real mad and, you know, bang it down, because yeah, that'll hurt.
Yeah. And that's something that, again, the Lexus has much nicer padding up on top here. But anyway, you open it up, it's actually 3 layers, which is kind of impressive. So you have this top layer here, which can hold a lot of large things still, so that's really good on its own. And then you have this second layer, which kind of has cutouts for extra cup holders if you want, and a good amount of space there. And then you can lift this up, and then you have this entire bin underneath of there. You could fit a ton of stuff as well, and so that's really cool. And in the Lexus, you can actually have that as a little mini refrigerator. I don't believe you can get that here in the Land Cruiser, but plenty of space. So I mean, as far as that goes, there's no issues as far as space.
But back to the second level there, I honestly don't think you could, you could definitely fit cups in there, but you wouldn't want to have this open.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I wouldn't be very comfortable to drive around with that up.
Yeah.
But maybe if you're parked or something,
yeah,
I don't know.
who knows?
But yeah, so that's about it as far as storage spaces. But I think because this is so massive, you can fit so much stuff in there. I think that makes up for any shortcomings. The fact you don't have any kind of bin or anything up front here. Backseat space here in the Land Cruiser is pretty good. So this one is only the 2-row version. You can get a 3-row version of the Land Cruiser, and it's the same. Essentially, they just install a 3rd row. So this one doesn't have that, so I can't show you how that fits. But space-wise, it's going to be the same as the Lexus LX 570, and I did show the 3rd row in that, so you can go watch that interior review if you want to see more thoughts on the 3rd row. But as far as the 2nd row goes, it's a decent amount of space. For how large this vehicle is, though, it's not as roomy as you might be expecting. So I'm 5'9", me sitting behind myself. I have about 3 inches or so of legroom to spare back there. So it's decent, a good amount of headroom, so that's good as well. And then when you look forward, you'll see you do have a quad zone climate control here. So you have your individual climate controls for both sides of the rear seat there. So that's nice. And they have, there are air vents there and air vents in the roof as well. So that's great. And those backseat passengers do have heated seats for those outboard seats, but there's no cooled seats back there. And there is no USB jacks or anything like that back there as well. So, that is one area where this is kind of missing on some features there, especially, again, anything else that's $90,000 in the SUV segment is going to be so much more luxurious, have so many more features than this. Again, you buy this for its off-road capability or the fact that it's going to be indestructible and run forever, but you're certainly not going to buy it for the niceties. But it does also have a fold-down center armrest with 2 cup holders that pop out of the front of it there, and also a little cubby and armrest bin there. So it's nice that it has that. And also, if you do want to flip up those 2nd row seats, they do recline a little bit and they do flip forward with just one pull of a lever. And so that would of course be designed for the 3rd row, which this one doesn't have, but it is nice that you still have that mechanism. So if you want to get those 2nd row seats out of the way to maximize your cargo space, you can do that very easily, which is a nice touch. Trunk space here in the Land Cruiser is also really spacious, as you would expect. And one thing I really like about the Land Cruisers, and the Lexus has this as well, is that you have a split tailgate. So you have the part that goes up, and then you have also the part that drops down. And it is also power operated for that top part, which is also a nice little touch. But anyway, once you do get into that trunk area there, it's a very tall, very wide, and a very long space. I mean, it's just all kinds of room there. And so as far as that whole setup goes, it's good. There's also a power outlet in the back there, so that's nice. It's a normal traditional plug. So really great to have that. But there isn't any storage under the floor or anything like that, because you do have a full-size spare tire basically hanging right underneath that cargo area there. But yeah, so you're not going to be wanting for trunk space here in the back of the Land Cruiser, that's for sure. But anyway, that's all our thoughts here on the interior of the Land Cruiser. It's kind of unfortunate because I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to, put the screen from a RAV4 in here and, just do a few little things.
Yeah, just update it at least a little bit, because like we said, it just seems like it's like a car from 10 years ago on the inside. And for me, I very much enjoy the interior of my car. I sit in it every day. I'm the one that's seeing it all the time. Like, it's way more important to me than the outside of the car, because guess what? I'm seeing the inside of the car, not the outside. Right. So I don't know. Just for me, I think interiors are very important.
Yeah, and so even if you hate the way the Lexus LX 570 looks, again, you're going to be in the inside, like you said, way more than you're going to be seeing the outside. So I would highly recommend going for the Lexus if you must have one of these very old, setups with these Toyota and Lexus trucks. I mean, they're cool and they have their own charm, and I talk about that in the driving review again. But as far as the interior, I just feel like they just could have done so much more and it wouldn't have been hard. You know, I mean, all these trim pieces, they pop out. Like, you could just pop that out and put a wood piece in. It's not like they have to completely redesign the interior. Just pop out the trim pieces, pop out the screen, put a new one in. I don't know. I mean, I'm not an engineer, so maybe it's harder than that, but I just struggle to see why anyone would pay this much money for this interior when you can get the Lexus for the same exact price.
Yep.
It's kind of crazy. But anyway, let us know your thoughts on the Land Cruiser interior in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.